Welcome to the Selling Dreams podcast. Selling Dreams is an entertaining, heartfelt look at life through Freddy's journey to find love, identity, and fulfillment. Each episode dives into his wild adventures, relationship struggles, and career pursuits. With raw, relatable, and often hilarious stories, Freddy keeps listeners laughing, reflecting, and occasionally cringing. Join him as he chases dreams and tries to avoid trouble along the way. Disclaimer: the Selling Dreams podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts are his own and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast creators or affiliates. Content may include discussions on sensitive topics that are intended to provide insights, not professional advice. We encourage listeners to seek professional guidance for any personal issues or concerns. Listener discretion is advised.
So many things I need to establish. My RSD may be different to yours. I know of persons whose RSD was so overwhelming that they were self-injurious and tried to unalive themselves because of the situation. But your perception of love is usually way off. A lot of us don't have training in coping mechanisms for dealing with RSD. And that's what causes the hurt and pain being unbearable to the point where you have to be severely medicated or in some instances institutionalized. I heard of a young lady recently who all her friends have turned their back on her because for them, she's just playing the victim. You know, she was assaulted by a close family member when she was a child. And no matter what, relationship after relationship nobody loves her. Everybody is against her. But that's where this whole RSD thing came up. It was eye-opener, and I was trying to explain to our friends that, it's something that unless you're in it or you're the clinical counselor, it's very difficult to deal with. For me, it felt like everything was a criticism. Everybody was like, if I did something, everybody was critical about it. Oh my God. And sometimes it was just an observation that, hey, you could have done it different. And I'm like, what? So it's not good enough? And I think that helped develop inside me what we call imposter syndrome. So my RSD didn't just affect how I worked with romantic females, romantic relationships. It even was difficult maintaining friendships before I got into secondary school. When you feel rejected by everyone who's around you, all the normal people, you tend to gravitate towards the what do you call these people, fringes of society. It's very dangerous, very dangerous to go in that realm. But it happens. You go there, you get there. Because the fringes of society are more accepting because they are also outliers. Antisocial behavior is applauded and encouraged. So you have to remember that is very difficult.
Living with OSD can be exhausting, And it doesn't just show up in the big moments, it's there in the little ones too. Every day, you might find yourself overthinking a casual comment, replaying conversations in your mind, or fearing that every silence or delayed response means something negative. It can feel like the smallest interaction holds the potential for rejection. For some, this might mean hesitating to speak up in meetings, worrying about how friends perceive you, or struggling with relationships because every disagreement feels like a personal failure. OSD can make people feel isolated and misunderstood, as if they're constantly on edge. And that's why understanding how it affects our daily lives is so important. It's not just about handling rejection, it's about navigating the fear of it every single day.
What are some of them, if you have RSD, what are some of the coping mechanisms you use? If you're going to talk about it online, please tag us using the hashtag. I haven't the hashtag. Sorry about that. I actually do have a list of hold on. Because I did write down because I don't want this one. I cannot blame on my ADHD. I blame this on my poor filing system because this episode was supposed to be taped how many weeks ago. I left this on my desk at school. Needed. And I'm shuffling through. We have a list of hashtags where I want us to use because it's going to be easier keeping track of situations like this. But you can go to our website, you can go to our Twitter, or even on our TikTok and YouTube accounts and leave a comment there on what are some of the coping mechanisms that you use. It's for the wider community to assist. We never know, there may be a parent among us or a child among us or just another soul coping with some of the most heart-wrenching and hurtful things ever. So we want everybody to get the assistance that they need. So try our socials, or you can use the hashtag The Selling Dreams Podcast. And also Rejection Sensitivity Disorder, hashtag Rejection Sensitivity Disorder. Use those two hashtags. We will try our best to look around, see what we're tagged in, see the different comments, and also try to run something on the Discord channel. So as we go along with developing the podcast, I am going to try to get some of the mental health professionals who I know are out there dealing with it and talk to some other people who suffer with some of these issues. Had a question? Nope. So, after Carla, at first we answered Carla, I got married a couple of years later to Nika. And by that time, I was already aware of my rejection sensitivity disorder and the possible skewness. And because I kept not adjusted, I kept compensating for RSD. I put up with a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have put up with. But it just was an interesting relationship. So even when you know that you have RSD, it's difficult because you compensate and you stay in relationships longer than you should because you're so judgmental of yourself, skewing actual love that you run aground in certain circumstances. With my second wife, Colette, things were a lot better. There were certain things that still, the paranoia, the mistrust, all that stuff that comes along with RSD. But with a long marriage, I have a beautiful son. I finally did get my the thing I wanted, which was my 10-year-old solution, which was my own child. And he of himself has showed me true love. And not just love because I'm his dad. I look at, he lost his mom at the age of 6. And how he deals with that helps me understand my how I express love and how I show love. It's really, really intense. So I know it's ended up more of a ramble than anything else, but as I get a close off here, whether I was 9 years old, a 13-year-old boy, 23-year-old man, or even now 47-year-old old man, RSD is part of my life. It amplifies the feelings, the negative feelings of my relationships. So I don't dwell on the negative aspects of my relationships, which kind of made me kind of cold. So people will tell you that when it comes to relationships, he's just laid back. Somebody tells him about a breakup or something, and it's like, okay, cool, move along. Because if I go down that rabbit hole, I'm gonna be messed up. I'm gonna be messed up for years. It's not, some people think it makes me cold that I don't put as much effort into relationships. It's not that I don't. If you go back to like episode 2, talking with Diana, episode 3, talking with Diana Sammy, I really, really try to be the best boyfriend there, because at the end of the day, whether or not you give me 150%, I'm going to give you 150%. Because at no point in time you should look at me and say, hey, I did not feel as part of that relationship. Now, everybody's going to see things differently. Throughout the podcast, I'm going to interview different people, how they see me. So I'm asking you to be part of that journey. Be part of that journey. So let's tying up. Upcoming episode, I'm still working on the 2 premium episodes, sex and sexuality of disabled persons, and the dark side, the depression and suicidal thoughts associated with ADHD. So those are some of the things that I'm still working on. That's episode 5 and 6. This one was episode 7. This was Rejection Sensitivity Disorder, also known as, hey, I want my own baby so I can feel loved. Sounds familiar? Teenagers. Sad. So one last thing before we go. Have you ever experienced intense feelings of rejection or criticism that seems overwhelming or proportional? If so, how do you navigate these emotions, especially those of you who are living with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or you think that you may have rejection sensitivity disorder? If you believe you have RSD, we would love to hear about your story and any strategies that you have helped manage these challenging moments. Please share your thoughts with us. Found it. Use the hashtags The Selling Dreams Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. You can also follow us, me, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Selling Dreams TT, or on TikTok at the Selling Dreams Podcast, selling.dream.podcast, and on our website, sellingdreamspodcast.com. Thank you so very much for tuning into Selling Dreams Podcast. I appreciate you spending time with me today, especially on a day like this. This episode took too long to put together. But thanks for being here, and we look forward to seeing you again. Next episode, try to dive more and more into my ADHD and its madness, how it changed my outlook on life, and how I try to help others in my quest. So, this has been Freddy. Welcome. Come again to our podcast, Selling Dreams. This is Freddy, out. Bye.
As we wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with a few key takeaways. First, understand your sensitivity. Recognizing OSD as part of who you are can be liberating. Second, build your personal toolkit. The strategies we discussed can really help you navigate tough moments. Remember to connect with others. Finding your community can provide support and understanding that's invaluable. And lastly, celebrate your journey, no matter how small the steps may seem. Each day you work towards managing OSD is a victory in itself. If you found today's episode helpful, I encourage you to share it with someone who might benefit from it. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. Let's continue to support each other as we embrace our stories and build resilience together. Thank you for joining me today on Selling Dreams. Until next time, take care of yourselves.